Ark awakens in front of a tree and is left concerned by his situation. After calming himself down, he assesses himself and his equipment and realizes that he's inside of the body of his game character Ark. Recalling that he fell asleep after playing the game, Ark tries out his wyvern slash move and is left astonished by the power behind it. Trying out magic next, Ark casts a simple fire spell that incinerates a tree. Ark then concludes that he's able to utilize all of the previous skills from the upgrade path of his main skill, Holy Knight, which led him to believe he's super strong. Growing hungry and sadly without food or funding, Ark casts a gate spell to teleport him somewhere, but is instead teleported off a cliff he stood close by. Landing safely by a river stream, Ark takes off his helmet to drink from it, but realizes that his head is that of a skeleton. Remembering that he chose the skeleton avatar back in his old world, Ark fathoms that if he entered a town without wearing his helmet, he'd be treated as a monster. The name of the town is Louvierte, and after exploring the place a bit, Ark encounters a woman arguing with an investigator over his failure to obtain the information she hired him for. As it turns out, the woman was an elf, which amazes Ark, but he soon loses sight of her. Later, he finds the town's mercenary guild and upon entering it, tries to acquire a license. Initially, the male receptionist claims that it'd be pointless for him to get one as he appears to be well employed already due to the armor he's wearing. So Ark gives an excuse and the receptionist believes it but informs him that before he can get one, he'll have to pass a trial. The trial entails that Ark must bring back proof of subjugation of one of three things: a beast, monster, or bandit. Wasting no time, Ark leaves the guild. Afterward, Ark slays a couple of boars and then an orc. Carrying the proof of subjugation, Ark spots a group of bandits surrounding a carriage who slays the guards and surround a noble lady and her maid. The bandits take advantage of the noble lady and her maid. We see Ark slaying the bandits and finishing off the remaining bandits with his wyvern slash move. Once the bandits were dealt with, Ark checks upon the two ladies. They thank him and introduce themselves as Lauren and her maid Rita. As Rita and Lauren step into the forest to take care of themselves, Ark loots the bandits' belongings and uses their horses to carry it all. Rita then asks for Ark's name and he introduces himself as a humble traveler by the name of Ark. Back at the guild, Ark turns in his subjugated prey and receives a rune stone from the orc that he slew and is advised by the receptionist to remove them whenever you kill a monster. After a brief explanation of what runes can be processed into, Ark is given his license and he immediately checks into an inn and has the food served there delivered to his room. A single mother named Siona works hard for her two children, Marka and Helena. She heads to the field every morning as the sun rises. Wanting to help their mother, Marka writes a job request asking for help. Eventually, Ark accepts the job, which entails protecting someone as they collect herbs. He arrives at the job destination called Rada Village, and the village's gatekeeper directs him to Siona's home. In the fields while collecting herbs, some shaking in the bushes alerts Ark, and upon investigating it, he finds a wounded green multi-tailed monster. Ark then uses healing magic on it to allow it to heal from its wound. Ark names it Ponta. Back in the village, a hunter is distraught by something he saw in the forest that wasn't the usual fanged boar that would be normally encountered in the forest. As it so happens, Siona arrives back in the village and hears from the gatekeeper that Marka left for the forest earlier that morning with a knight. Returning to Ark's group, they find the Kabumi tree in full bloom, and the moment Marka approaches the tree, a giant basilisk appears from behind it. Noticing Ponta's upset behavior toward the beast, Ark deduces that the one responsible for injuring her was the monster. Before the basilisk could stomp on Marka, Ark briskly pulls her out of the way and then avoids its poison fog breath attacks. Analyzing the basilisk's attacks while defending against its paralyzing claws and whip-like tongue, Ark then uses his holy shield of Tudates to defend against a petrification attack. After this, Ark uses his judgment attack that slices the monster in half, thereby defeating it. Ark requests that it be kept a secret and Marka understands. Ark then notices a ring around the monster's right ankle that disappears moments after it was spotted. Marka then reunites with her mother Siona, who embraces her daughter, and Ark formally apologizes to Siona for recklessly allowing her daughter to go into the forest. By dusk, Ark and Ponta get ready to leave and Ark is given a circlet of flowers by Helena. Later that night within the forest, a large group of soldiers slay a giant basilisk of their own. The leader is given a status report of the total number of deceased and injured soldiers by his subordinate, and about how a single person managed to slay a giant basilisk single-handedly. Amazed by this feat, the leader surmises that the one who slew it must be either a god or devil. Meanwhile, Ark enjoys himself in his room with Ponta and considers taking on a more challenging quest the next day. Elsewhere, Arian's inner monologue notes how the elf and human treaty is nothing more than a farce at that point in time, and that she seeks more power. It was the encounter with a large man in silver armor that would change her destiny, as she spots Ark with Ponta exiting a cave and prepares to attack Ark. Elsewhere, in Dianto, Triton hears from his partner Celsica about the failed assassination attempt on Lauren's life. As for the beasts that were set loose in Louviert, they were in the giant basilisks, which were both individually slain. The news disheartens Triton, and Celsica asks why Prince Dakers was targeting the area in the first place. Triton, on the other hand, has no clue. It's also noted that they cannot allow any information to leak that they're in allegiance with Dakers, or else that would complicate matters with Prince Stekt. Henceforth, Triton orders that the product must be secured and sent to the market, and that Princess Uriarna not become aware of this. Celsica assures that it will be done. Triton then asks about his son Udalan, and Celsica details that he was escorting the product, which Triton scornfully disapproves of. Back to Ark, he's attacked by Arian and recognizes her as the elf from the city. Arian accuses Ark of being a bandit, but stops attacking him after she sees Ponta and recognizes her as a spirit creature. This clears the suspicion of Ark being a bandit, and Arian discloses that she heard that bandits that were located there were hunting elves. Ark informs Arian that no elves were found in there, and then learns from her that elves are sold for a high price on the slave market. Before Arian runs off, Ark tries to offer his help, but Arian flatly rejects the offer and runs off. Warping into a place that he had suspected was close to the elven forest, Ponta then senses some presence nearby. It turns out it was a young elven girl trying to escape from her captors, but is soon caught. The aforementioned Udolan was the leader of the bandit captors, who not only taunts the girl for trying to escape, but also stabs her in the leg as well. Ark watches it all as it unfolds, and before he can make a move, Arian appears and takes out a couple of bandits with a single swipe. One of the bandits recognizes Arian as a dark elf, a rare type of elf, and would fetch a great price, which Udolan claims that he doesn't care for her and that bandits are to do whatever they please with her. A large number of bandits then surround Arian, but she instantly defeats them, and one of the remaining bandits recognizes Arian as an elven warrior. Once Arian takes out nearly all of the remaining bandits, Arian is caught in a pinch when Udolan takes one of the elven girl's hostages. Seeing an opportunity to help, Ark appears behind Udolan and uses his armor lariat attack against him, which KOs him. The remaining bandits are then dealt with by Arian. The elven captives were rescued, and Arian notices that the captives wore mana-eating collars. Arian explains that it suppresses their ability to use their spirit magic. Ark casts Uncurse on one of the elven girls and then heal the wounds on the girl. Arian summons her spirit creature, a whispering foal, to relay a message about the rescued elves. Eventually, a couple of cloaked elves arrive at the scene and pick up the formerly captive elven girls. With the elven girls out of the picture, Arian recounts the skills and abilities that Ark displayed and demands to know who he really is, but Ark assures that he is no one of any importance. Just the whispering foal returns and relays a message from someone claiming that the main perpetrator's HQ was located in Diento, and that they're going to make a move on there soon. In light of this, Arian asks to hire Ark for his services. Ark accepts Arian's offer. Using a magic spell Gate, Ark teleports the group to Lytle River, which surprises Arian as she notices Diento in the distance. When they arrive in the city, they wait for Danka. Danka discloses the location of their target area within the theater district. That night, the group heads out to their destination while being tailed by an unknown person. Using Dimension Move, Ark teleports the group to the rooftop of their destination. After Arian struggles to get inside the building, Ark uses Dimension Move again to teleport Danka, Ponta, and himself into the building. Searching around the inside of the building, they find that some of the bandits were killed. From there, they all split up to investigate the building so they can cover more ground. Ark uses Dimension Move to cover the sound of his tracks as he moves around the building, and the moment he finds more dead bandits in a room, he's attacked by a ninja. Exuberant over this discovery, the ninja asks Ark how he knows that she's a ninja, but calms down after seeing Ponta. The ninja deduces that Ark is there for the enslaved elves and then gives him a roll of paper, which she claims will be of use to him. The location of the elves. The papers which the ninja gave to Ark turn out to be paper contracts for elven slaves, and Ark shows this to both Arian and Danka, while also mentioning there are 2 more elves in the Lord's palace. When asked about where he found the papers, Ark claims that he found them on one of the bandits there. Down in the basement area, the elven girls are freed by Ark. Ark then uses Dimension Move to reach the Lord's palace. Having 2 elven ladies by the names of Sina and Una restrained on his bed, Triton prepared to have his way with them, but first chastises his son, Udalan, for his recent failure. Elsewhere, Ark and Arian manage to successfully land on Triton's mansion and catch the attention of a couple of guards. At that moment, Celsica informs Triton about the intruders in the mansion, and when he claims that the invaders are monsters, the door behind him explodes. Arian then incapacitates Triton, while Ark scares the daylights out of Udalan and in the process finds a hidden room. The 2 elves then leave, and Arian goes to check up on Ark, who loots the gold from the hidden room. Several bombs are detonated across the mansion, and because of this, Ark and Arian teleport to a safe location. She offers Ark to accompany her to the elven lands where more elves are being held captive. Ark claims he can never take off his armor, and Arian asks why. Hence, Ark takes off his helmet and shows Arian his true visage and a brief explanation of his past, claiming that he's suffering from a curse that has his appearance transformed. Deducing that he's not of the undead and placing her trust in him for helping her out so far, Arian claims he'll be welcomed in the land of elves. Furthermore, the Elder may be able to help him change back into his original form. To that, the two formally introduce themselves and shake on their newly formed relationship. In Olav, the capital of the Rodent Kingdom, King Carlin holds a meeting with his children, Princess Sect and Dockhares and Princess Uriarna, about the recent events surrounding Triton. Sect mentions that Triton was illegally selling elves to the eastern country, which Dockhares refutes, but Sect claims that Dockhares is standing up for him. The comment upsets Dockhares, who speaks defensively, but is stopped by King Carlin and speaks in favor of Dockhares while claiming a full investigation must be had before any conclusion would be drawn. King Carlin then asks for Uriarna's opinion on the matter, and she claims that she heard the rumors being spread about the elven slaves causing the imposed treaty to be broken. That would cause raised tensions with their kingdom and other nations, hence they need to find the truth immediately. She also mentions the backlash from the elves themselves, and Sect mentions that the other nations would hold them responsible. Therefore, King Carlin assigns Uriarna to visit Limbolt and discuss any tensions that have arisen there. Sometime later in Olav, Uriarna is served tea by her maid Ferna. As she goes to drink it, she mentions her suspicions that her brother Dockhares is involved in the elf trade incident, and that Sect will go after him about it. Meanwhile, Ark and Arian arrive at their destination of Lalatoya. The gate to the village opens and Ark follows Arian to the Elder's house. At the Elder's home, Ark and Arian are met by the Elder and his wife Dylan and Glenys, both of whom are Arian's parents. Dylan formally thanks Ark for all of his achievements towards the elven village, but he does rebuke Arian for attacking Triton's manor. Understanding the problem at hand, Dylan says that he'll inform the other elders in Maple to alert them of the trafficking contract that was uncovered. The following morning, Ark wakes up and learns that Arian and Dylan have already left from Glenys. Arian and Dylan listen to the elders debate on how to proceed with the humans violating the 400-year treaty about enslaving elves. The result of the discussion is settled by Elder, who suggests they observe the Rodent Kingdom's reaction to the attack on the Lord's manor. Returning to Ark, he spars against Glenys, who quickly overwhelms him with her swordplay during their sparring match together. Dylan briefs Ark on the current situation decided by the elders. He also hires Ark to hunt down the names on the contract while also freeing any elves he encounters. Admitting that the pay he received for the job would be inadequate, Dylan bargains with Ark and offers him information on how to break his curse to make up for his reward. Dylan then informs Ark of a magical spring near Lord Crown that can remove curses. However, it's also a place where the Dragon Lord makes its home, and the spirit animals also inhabit the area. Because of the risks it imposes on a human, an elf would have to act as a mediator to be granted access there. Ark accepts this reward, but internally notes how his curse was an RP thing. However, if his condition was a curse, he'd be able to dispel it with one of his spells. However, spells such as those hurt the undead and could harm him. Ark casts Uncurse on himself to test this theory, and to his amazement, it works without inflicting any harm. Ark and group set out for Olav, the capital of the Rodent Kingdom, and Ark reflects on how the skeleton body is in fact due to a curse. Although he can cast an Uncursed spell on himself to cure his condition, the effects are sadly temporary. The following day, Uriarna, accompanied by her maids, settle in their horse-driven carriage. It's planned to regroup with their guards midway in the nearby forest to keep up a fast pace and reach the Grand Duchy of Limbolt with all possible haste. Unbeknownst to them, they were being closely watched from the shadows by an elusive figure. Back to Ark's group, they close in on where the haunted wolves are sent to be. They're attacked by haunted wolves, which most are illusions cast by the wolves. They both handle themselves against the haunted wolves, and soon Ark locates the leader of the pack. Confronting the pack leader, Ark sees that it has a similar ring attached to its leg that he once found on a giant basilisk. Ark manages to cut the ring off of the pack leader, which allows it to regain control of itself and call its pack members to regroup with it and leave. Arian regroups with Ark and learns from him about the rings he found on the haunted wolf and giant basilisk that attacked them in the past. Meanwhile, Uriarna's carriage progresses to the forest. She is fully aware that her brother Dockhares is the ringleader responsible for the elven slaves and that her other brother's sect would allow things to play out without getting involved. Just then, the carriage starts to shake and a couple of the guards outside shout that they're under attack. Returning to Ark's group, Orion prepares to skin the tail fur from the wolves and Ponta hears a disturbance in the distance and heads for it. Ark follows him and Arian stays behind to prepare the wolf's tail fur. At Uriarna's carriage, both Uriarna and Furna are slain by one of 6 hooded assailants, and one of Uriarna's guards was an accomplice. Just then, Ponta followed by Ark arrive at the scene. As Ark examines Uriarna and Furna, the assailants launch multiple fire beretta and rock shot at Ark, who is invulnerable to the attacks. Assessing whether or not he should cast a spell to revive both Furna and Uriarna, Ark is shocked to see that the haunted wolves from before attack the assailants. Ark joins the attack and they manage to take out a few of them, while the rest escape from the scene. Once that was all settled, the wolves take their leave and Ark decides to cast regeneration on Uriarna, Furna, and as many of her guards as he can. While Ark does this, Uriarna briefly regains consciousness. Ark regroups with Arian, who had finished her personal task, and they continue forward. Finally, at Olav, they nearly get involved in a fight between a young lady and 3 angry men who are easily dealt with by the young lady who turns out to be the ninja girl. Chiome thanks Arian and Ark for freeing the enslaved people back in Diento and introduces herself as a member of the Jinshin clan's 6 ninjas. They then change their location to a room in an inn, and there Ark introduces himself and Ponta, while Arian introduces herself. In the royal castle, Prince Dakeres throws a fit about the haunted wolves that stop taking orders. Another man there named Centurion speculates that the rings on the wolves may have been broken somehow, and that Uriarna is likely to be alive. This would pose a severe problem to Dakeres' plans to stop the negotiations between the elves and her. Dakeres then asks who the perpetrators were, and Centurion responds that they were likely elves and would have eventually arrived in Olav. Meanwhile, Ark and the group walk through a forested area, and Chiome informs Ark that the founder of her village wasn't a beastman, but a human named Hanzo. She reveals that Hanzo was once a spy for the Revlon Empire who took it upon himself to take an underprivileged beastman in his care and train some of them too. Reaching their destination, the largest slave market in Olav, Etsat Market. By dusk, Chiome goes over the plan and asks that both Arian and Ark act conspicuously, and then make a quick escape when they're done. Chiome admits that she doesn't believe that everyone involved in this will be able to escape. Ark then asks if Etsat is a decoy, and Chiome confirms it by mentioning the other 4 slave markets in Olav will be targeted. Chiome goes off to notify her comrades, tells Ark and Arian that the assault on the market will take place that night, and advises them to prepare themselves. Ark dons a new mask, and they're soon met by Chiome and her companion Goemon. It's decided that Arian and Shion will attack the front, while Ark and Goemon will attack the rear. Wasting no time, Ark and Goemon approach the back gate, and Goemon casts Stone Smasher on himself to help Ark break through the front door. Inside the place, Ark takes out several guards, and Goemon casts Arm Bracer, which transforms his body into hardened steel that breaks the weapons of those who attacked him. Taking advantage of the situation, Goemon casts Rock Spear Strike, and Ark adds to it with his Rock Fang. On the opposite side of the fort, Chiome and Arian manage to get past the front gate and head toward the market. During the night of the attack on the Etsat market, Dakeres in Cetrian's safe haven learns from the said person that the market is under attack, as well as 4 other slave markets as well. Dakeres demands that reinforcements be sent to the places under attack and notes his frustration about his situation. At the Etsat market, Chiome, Arian, and Ponta infiltrate the place, and a couple of guards soon accost them. The guards are quickly dealt with by Chiome's ninjutsu Liquid Wolf Fang. They then reach the cells where the slaves are held, and Chiome announces herself as part of the Jinshin clan who's there to rescue them all. As Chiome opens some of the cells, more guards arrive and are swiftly dealt with by Arian. Outside in the market compound, Ark and Goemon arise from the rubble and are soon joined by Chiome's group, who informs them of the Beast People's whereabouts. Goemon decides to stay alone and defend the area if reinforcements arrive, leaving Ark and the others to return to the market and free more of the slave held captive. Once they do, Chiome finds a pile of dead bodies, and a slave informs them that slaves who were sick or injured were disposed of. Ark pulls Chiome together, and they all regroup with the slave in the hall and then teleported out by Ark's magic in large groups. Once that was settled, Ark returned to the market compound to assist the injured and belabored Goemon. With Ark using his Rock Fang and Goemon using his Rock Spear Strike, they managed to decimate the reinforcements without a hassle. After this, the two reconvene with Orion and Chiome and bring along the deceased slaves' bodies. Once the bodies are properly and respectively laid out on the ground, Arian cremates them. Meanwhile, Dakeres is assassinated by Cetrian, who is in cahoots with Prince Sect, who learns from Cetrian about the freed slaves and Uriarna's supposed demise. Pleased by the news, Sect asks Cetrian to spread the news of Uriarna's death and relishes that he now is the sole heir to the throne. Time passes and Ark's group returns to Olav. They ride on a boat steered by Goemon and learn from Chioma that Goemon and her will head to a hidden village in the Calcut Mountains. She then claims that she'll give them the important information she had promised them. In the Grand Duchy of Linbolt, Uriarna reaches her sister Siriarna's castle, and she learns from her sister about her supposed demise. After contemplating the situation over, Uriarna tells her sister not to inform her father about her survival and instead hopes to continue her duty by speaking to the elves. Back to Ark's group, Aurion relays a message through a whisper bird so Danka can be brought up to date with the current events. A flashback of the information given by Chioma that the location of the remaining elven slaves are at the Holy Revlon Empire. Meanwhile, in the imperial capital of the Holy Revlon Empire, Emperor Domitianus learns of the death of Dockares from his chancellor Velmos. Although pleased by the news that Uriarna is dead, Velmos informs Domitianus that the rings they provided to Dockares were broken, and that a third person is involved in killing the princess. Domitianus speculates that Sect was the likely one to do it and asks about Fumba's progress in bringing Olav to ruin. Velmos happily announces that his progress is coming along smoothly. In a barren wasteland, a flock of sand wyverns flies in the sky and Ark becomes super excited by their presence. Meanwhile, someone is watching and taking notes on Ark. Aurion discloses the plan on how they'll reach the Revlon Empire. Aurion claims that unlike the Rodent Kingdom Elven, slavery is allowed and her being an elf is notably disconcerting. They're then approached by the person spying on them before. He introduced himself as Karsi Held, an elven monster researcher. Karsi then requests that they help him with his research on monsters, and Aurion flatly refuses, but Karsi offers them a map of the Revlon Empire as a reward for their services. Karsi informs the two to meet him at the town entrance the next day. Ark then asks for information on the sandworm they're hunting, and Karsi elaborates on it. Aurion then notices that the cart behind them is gone, and then the sandworm in question appears and is considerably bigger than expected. Spotting Karsi's companion by the broken cart, Aurion tries to rescue him, but is ambushed by the sandworm, so she tries to exploit its weakness to fire with a fire spell. However, her attack against it was futile, and the sandworm tries to attack her, but Ark manages to save her in the nick of time, allowing her and Karsi's companion to retreat to a safe location. Taking advantage of the situation, Ark pulls the sandworm out from the ground and using his immense strength, slams it to the ground. Once the sandworm was knocked out, the attached ring disappeared. Later that day, the sandworm is tied up and brought back to the town. There, Karsi gives the two their reward. Meanwhile, an unnamed man from Revlon reports to Fumba as he fondles a couple of women by his side about the recent number of missing people. Fumba then shows the man the monster he has in store for the next attack and feeds one of his women to it. Arriving at the border town of Kasek, Ark figures they finally arrived in the Revlon Empire, the place where the captured elves were being imprisoned in. Because of the tight security in the vicinity, they decide to ask around town while trying not to draw attention themselves. By dusk, Ark reviews what he's learned, that noises are coming from the castle, and that people from the town have mysteriously disappeared over time. However, there's still no word about elves being held captive there. Before Ark and Ponta regroup with Aurion, they hear a woman screaming and find a lady in an alleyway being confronted by a trio of men. Ark arrives at the scene and deals with the brutes. That night in his fortress, Fumba learns from the three men who tried to capture the lady in the alleyway of their failure, so he feeds them to his white tiger monster. Outside of the fortress, Ark and the group proceed toward the fortress. Once inside the fortress, Aurion locates a hidden stairway, and as they walk down it, the pungent smell of beasts is noted. At the bottom of the stairs, the two guards guarding the solid iron gate are swiftly dealt with. Ponta then finds another iron gate that Ark opens, and behind it, the group finds a massive underground space with pillars all around the area. Fumba then arrives and notes that he came to investigate what was alerting his monsters. Fumba introduces himself by his full name and job title, Monster Sorcerer. He goes on to explain the extent of his skill in his profession, which concerns Ark, and then spots the rings attached to his belt match the ones he's encountered before in his travels. Figuring that Ark doesn't believe him, Fumba summons his white tiger monster to deal with him. Ark places Aurion at a safe distance and asks Fumba about the elves who arrived there 4 months ago. Fumba then reveals that while most of them were sent to the Empire for their magical experiments, the remaining ones were used for his amusement. Hearing that, Ark slices off the monster's head with a single swipe and admits that he's encountered a fair amount of villainy since he's arrived in that land. Unfazed by this, Fumba summons a horde of monsters, but Ark briskly deals with them all with his sword and skills like Shield Bash. Still unfazed by this outcome, Fumba points out that Aurion is in a pinch, and Ark then sees that an orc was about to crush her with its club. However, the orc is entrapped in a body of water called Liquid Prison created by Chioma. Although Fumba tries to summon more monsters, he's told by Chioma that her comrades have eliminated them all. Just then, the ground starts to tremor and Fumba claims that his masterpiece is Humbrian. He'll settle the score outside and flees the scene. Teleporting outside with Arian in his arms and both Panta and Chioma on his shoulders, Ark recognizes the monster that escapes from the fortress as a Hydra. Ark notices the rings on the Hydra that emerge from the fortress, and Chioma suggests a tactical retreat. However, before they can, the Hydra fires straight at them. Fumba watches this through the Hydra and relishes his victory over Ark's group. Fumba sends the Hydra to Kasek to feed upon its inhabitants. Meanwhile, Ark and Chioma are shown to be both alive as Ark's shield magic protected them. Despite Arian wanting to go after Fumba, Ark suggested that he hunt the Hydra heading for Kasek. Figuring Ark could do it alone, Chioma and Arian go by themselves to hunt Fumba. In the Holy East Revlon Empire, Dominos gives Emperor Domitianus an update concerning the Destroyer of Nations, and the Rings of Submission created from the analysis of Fumba's sorcery are nearly complete. The Hydra was closing in on Kasek, and the city guards raise an alarm as the head guard ordered preparations for an evacuation. Catching up to the Hydra, Ark uses his Wyvern Slash to catch its attention and follows up with a Shield Bash. An astonished Fumba witnesses this as it plays out, and then Ark dodges its Flame Breath with a Dimension move, but one of the heads bites down on him. Despite the other heads about to fire off fireballs at the entrapped Ark, he defends himself with his magic, and in the process, the head that entrapped him is destroyed. Using his Judgment skill, Ark destroys 3 of the Hydra heads only for them to regenerate. Teleporting to a safe distance, Ark prepares to use a magic spell he's never used before and summons Ifrit to face off against the Hydra. Elsewhere, Panta leads Arian and Chioma to Fumba's location, and he was amused by Arian's presence, figuring she was there to become his. Fumba tries to possess Arian with his monsters, but she kills them before he can. Chioma also scars his back, revealing he had a special spell Crest Seal on his back that helped him control his monsters. Fumba warns them that the Hydra is now out of his control and will kill everyone in the city. Arian then assures Chioma that everything will be alright because Ark is down there to fight against the Hydra and then proceeds to incinerate Fumba with her flame sword. Back to Ark's side, through the combined efforts of Ark and his summon, Ifrit, they destroy the Hydra. Once Ark regroups with Arian, Chioma, and Panta, a whisper bird sent by Danka arrives and conveys that Princess Uriarna has met with one of the great elven elders Fangas. The meeting between them was to settle the matters between their respective kingdoms. Princes Sect and Dakhares are mentioned as conspirators with the Revlon Empire as well. Princess Uriarna promises that if the Revlon Empire invaded the Elven lands, the Olive Kingdom would help defend them. Fangas agrees to these terms and shakes Uriarna's hand on it. Returning to Ark's group, they walk down a dirt path. Ark and the group talk about the coexistence between humans and elves. In the kingdom of Olav, Cetrion reports to Prince Sex that Princess Uriarna survived and her negotiations with the elves were a success. Considering the possibility of a double agent, Prince Sex brushes this off and claims an alternate path to achieve their goal will be taken. In her room, Uriarna believes that she died once before but was brought back to life to fulfill her angel's wishes. News of the deaths of the Hydra and Fumba reach Domitianus, who considers it no loss whatsoever and is curious to know who slew the Hydra. Meanwhile, Ark unintentionally reveals his face to Chioma and is then filled in on Ark's condition. It's decided that after they reach Lalatoya, Arian will guide Ark to Lord Crown. Excited about that trip, Ark also asks to see Chiome's hometown and she sheepishly agrees.